Hi, this is Tim Cant for Native Instruments, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get the most from NI's amazing analog monosynth emulation Monarch. This is a great synth for getting classic fat analog synth tones, but its hardware-inspired interface might be a little off-putting if you're used to more modern soft synths, so we're going to demystify it and make some really useful patches along the way. If you don't already own Monarch, you can click on the info card in the upper right to download the demo version. Monarch is a Reactor synth, and to use it you'll need to load up version 5 or 6 of Reactor or the free Reactor player instrument, which can be downloaded free from NI. To bring up Monarch, we select Monarch in the player menu and double click the Monarch ensemble. The default patch is a big bouncy bass tone that shows off Monarch's analog-esque sounds, but to better understand the synth we're going to initialize the patch. To do this, we click the patch name at the top of the synth and select the user bank followed by one init Monarch. Monarch is based around 3 oscillators, and these are activated and deactivated in the mixer panel. The volume knobs on the left of the panel correspond to the oscillators they're adjacent to. By default they're all turned up to a maximum volume, but only oscillator 1 is voiced. And we know this because only oscillator 1's filter routing button is illuminated. This button tells Monarch we want an oscillator to be routed to the filter and subsequently present in the audio output signal. So if we click oscillator 2's filter routing button, it'll become voiced and we can hear its sawtooth tone over the top of oscillator 1's square wave. If we turn off oscillator 1 and 2 and activate oscillator 3, all we get is a super low rumble. This is because oscillator 3's pitch range is set to low. If you're already au fait with synthesis, you'll probably be familiar with the term low frequency oscillator, and while most synths have their own discrete voiced and modulation oscillators, Monarch's oscillators can be either. If you turn up the pitch range knob, you'll get what you'd expect from a regular oscillator. These dual function oscillators are the primary difference between Monarch and other synths you might be more familiar with, so let's see how they work in practice. Return oscillator 3's pitch range to low and deactivate its filter routing button, and reactivate oscillator 1's. Turn oscillator 1's waveform knob to the triangle waveform. This gives us a simple tone that's ideal for portamento leads, and if you turn up the glide time in the control panel, you can make it a little lazier and perfect for getting a G-funk on. Below the glide knob you'll see a modulation matrix knob, which controls the balance of the modulation source between oscillator 3 and the noise oscillator. To put this modulation into action, we need to do 2 things. First, we click the mod switch in the oscillators panel, and second we turn up the mod wheel, either via MIDI or using the virtual one in the control panel. With the modulation wheel turned up, we get a strong vibrato effect, and we can fine-tune this by adjusting the oscillator 3 frequency knob. The higher the frequency, the quicker the vibrato. If we turn up the pitch range knob so that oscillator 3 is operating in the audible range, we get an FM effect, perfect for creating sci-fi sounds. Return the pitch range to low and next turn up the modulation mix knob, which gradually adds more noise to the modulation mix. This makes the signal noisier in a subtler way than simply putting white noise into the output, and played down low this patch can give us some useful atmospheric tones which can be smoothed off with the cutoff knob in the filter section. Turn the filter cutoff back up and the modulation mix back down, and reduce the mod wheel to a low level. This gives our triangle lead a more natural human vibrato reminiscent of a theremin. Very light and delicate, but we can quickly turn it into something much more brutal by activating the feedback routing button in the mixer panel and turning up the feedback level. When played at a low register, this patch will give you some really gnarly bass tones. These change character as they're played up and down the keyboard. You can get an even more extreme sound by turning up the mixer panel's load knob too. If you go back to Oscillator 1 and change its waveform shape, you'll find these modulation and feedback settings can give you a palette of full-on analog style sound.